Okay, we are live, so I'm going to assume that we are live. Bit of a delay. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Wealth and Wellness Wednesday. We have another amazing entrepreneur with us today, my dear friend Regina. She is going to tell you, her story, how she got to where she is, how she decided to become an entrepreneur, the type of services and education that she has behind her. And yeah, we're going to learn all about the amazing talents that she has. And I know since last time we talked, your list has gotten a little bit bigger. You've been very busy. So why don't you start wherever you feel like you want to start with your story, how you, because you kind of switched careers, but kind of didn't. You kind of added more to your resume, I think, right?
Yeah, God, it's such a long story. All right, real basic. I decided that I was tired of partying and drinking and doing nothing with my life. So all of a sudden I had this epiphany that I needed to go to massage school, and that was back in 2009, 2009. And then can you hear my doorbell? Um the neighborhood homeschool kids looking for my kids. And then so I started school, and that kind of got me into the holistic health, like on track with that. And within a couple of years, I decided, well, I want to be more marketable. I don't really like where I'm working. And so I went to skincare school and got duly licensed. And that led me to a little place called Namaste in Pompano Beach, Florida. And I got really heavy into Reiki, and I started to keep seeing these flyers in my mail asking me if I wanted to go to school for alternative medicine. And I was like, I think I do. And so I got pregnant right after I enrolled, and I worked through my bachelor's degree while having two kids, and then started the dark night of the soul kind of stuff. A lot of trauma from childhood came up around parenting, and that led me to Jason Christoff. Actually, it led me to you first, where I was introduced to Pro Tandem and the whole Life Vantage line, which really got me out of postpartum depression, borderline psychosis. Um, and self-sabotage coaching with Jason Christoff, and that led me to RTT, and RTT led me to ACH, which is advanced conversational hypnosis, which is an incredible modality. It is life-changing and truly, like, when you want to talk about rapid transformational, like, it's that.
Yeah.
And then, every 2 years I have to renew my massage license, and I need to take 24 CEUs in the state of Florida. And so for once in 14 years, they were offering a health coaching certification. And I said, that is just great, because I can't practice alternative medicine in Florida. And I need an avenue to do that. And health coaching was that. And so they've all meshed really well together and helped to develop me as a person. It helped me to heal a lot of different things. Being exposed to LifeVantage was the beginning of so many amazing things, as far as feeling good, but I needed to psychologically feel good too. And so all of these different things was like one fateful divine drop of information to the next. And so I've just really become this well-rounded practitioner. And now I can teach what I do. I am one of 30 people in the world who are licensed to teach advanced conversational hypnosis. So if anybody is a therapist, a psychologist, psychiatrist who's looking to add a really effective modality tool to their tool belt to really actually help their clients get the results they're coming for, so that they don't have to sit in years and years and years of therapy. This is the tool of all tools. So I won't use
Yeah.
anything else.
So when they say rapid, they mean rapid, right? For
Yeah,
anyone
well,
who's
rapid
looking to heal.
transformational therapy was Marissa Peer's school of learning how to use hypnosis effectively, but I didn't find it a rapid modality personally. Yes, I had results to certain extents, and some people had results, but it wasn't consistent. enough for me, and all the preparation and stuff that came along with it, the 2 to 4 hours of preparing before I even see my client, creating a script, like a skeleton script, and then using the information that I came up with in the session to create a recording and to actually sit down and do the recording. By the time I was done with one client, I was spending somewhere between 6 and 8 hours of preparation, breakdown, and giving homework, which was never really followed.
Yeah.
So ACH kind of eliminates all of that. So now I just sit down in front of the person and say, hi, tell me about your problem. And, my, as mentioned in your post, I'm a sleep specialist. I help people with their sleep health. And so for me, I've got a 99% success rate in one session with my clients to help them sleep no matter how long they've been struggling to sleep. So really
Wow, that's
effective
amazing.
modality.
And so many people are lacking in sleep, I think, these days. So that must be just like a godsend for so many people that you work with.
Yeah, there's so many reasons why somebody doesn't sleep. And so because everybody's symptom picture is different, like the symptoms the same, the not sleeping, the not falling asleep, not staying asleep. But the reason why is always an individualized situation scenario. And so to be able to help them that on that individual level has been unreal for them too, because they're like, oh my God, I've only seen you for an hour and a half, and I haven't been sleeping for 35 years. How the hell am I sleeping all of a sudden? And so it's really rewarding on their end, but also for me, because I'm like, okay, this is such a cool modality. Like I just get to live in the wonderfulness of the whole thing.
For sure. And so this line of work that you do, you can do this from anywhere. So you have clients all over the place, right? Anybody that wants to work with you can do this online.
Yeah, so I have clients in Australia, I have clients in South America, in England, in Canada. I work with people all over the world because it's just as simple as jumping on a Zoom call. I have a client that lives in Alabama, but I only get on a phone call with him, so I don't even need to see him physically, see him. I can just get on the call and just really listen intently to what he's saying and guide him to where he finds his answers. Because I'm not the person who's doing the solving. It's my clients who are. They're solving their own problems. They've created them. So how am I going to fix that for them?
Yeah, for
So
sure. You're
uh,
facilitating, right?
yeah, I'm just it's a really intuitive process, which is cool to be able to tap into that too, because I've always been an intuitive. So I get to
For sure.
use background in health, background in psychology, background in, you know, overall healing in order to get my clients to where they want to be, which is great.
Yeah, I love that you had this like building block, right? These steps that you took to get where you are. And like you say, along the way, everything kind of meshes together, right? It's all
Yeah.
relevant, right, to what you're doing.
Yeah. Being in the health industry since 2009 has been the foundation for all of that. Just wanting to feel better and get better personally. And then going, okay, what am I going to do with this information that I have? I've got this brain jam packed with stuff about biology, anatomy, physiology, like healing, just energy work. Like, what am I going to do with it? How am I going to combine it all and help other people? And so each individual thing that popped up in my field of view at the time that I did was really, really like perfect timing.
Yeah. And you're a boy homeschool mama as well, which
Yeah.
is amazing, right?
So challenging, but yeah, really amazing. Every day is a different day. One day they're great and they want to sit down and work, and the next day they just want to move. And so that's hard, right? To get them to stay consistent, but they're kids. So we homeschool 6 days a week, about 1 to 2 hours a day. And then they take some classes at a really cool creative arts school that I teach at on Mondays now too.
Nice. That's awesome. I love that all of these different, modalities that you kind of went through, you've been able to do them from home while you're homeschooling your kids. I think there's kind of a misconception for a lot of moms, especially that one, they can't homeschool, but two, they can't homeschool and work for themselves from home either.
I have to say, depending on the type of kids that you have, it can be a struggle. My boys have always been very needy, and they demand attention from mom. And whenever I try to sit down and work, it's very difficult to actually stay focused. We just moved to this really cool neighborhood that I never thought was possible to have like a lifestyle that I had growing up. I grew up in the country in New York, like in the valley of the Catskills, and we were outside every single day. My mom would be like, "Get out of the house." There's 9 of us. She was like, "Get out, go away. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear you." And rightfully so, because we drove her crazy. And so I didn't think that I'd be able to be in like a rural area and have that, or like a city, and have that kind of experience with my kids. But this neighborhood is like that. They get to we give them walkie talkies and go outside. So I've been able to work more hours during the day than I have been before. And after they go to sleep at night, I do a little cleanup and I sit down for 3 or 4 hours and I work until 12 or 1 in the morning,
Yeah.
and just burning the midnight oil. Yeah, I
Same
mean,
here.
there's sacrifices, right? You want to
Yeah.
homeschool your kids, but we didn't really have any kind of consistency initially. Now we wake up, the first thing I do in the morning is their work. So I'm not a very structured person, but one thing that homeschooling has had an impact on in my life is creating the need for structure, which kids thrive on anyways. So it's been great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love hearing when, when moms can like make that work, because as much as we want to homeschool, for me personally, I always thought originally that I would keep doing real estate. My kids would go to the daycare down below our building and I'd pop in whenever I could, like that was kind of where I was at back in my younger days. And then once I had my first son, it was like, there's no way I'm going back to work. So what am I going to do? Because not that I thought I had to do something, or not that I thought we needed the money, but it was just more for my own thing, right? And I got into holistic health as well too. So I just like other moms to hear the story that it is very possible, especially, you're saying like your kids are very needy and they need a lot of mom time, and you're still able to kind of make it work if you can get on some type of a structured schedule, if you can work late at night. I mean, my best hours are between like 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., unfortunately, even though
The
I'm one
most
to tell
productive,
people,
right?
right? And I'm one to tell people that, you need to make sure you get your sleep. And here, these are, the hours that I work, and it is what it is. But just to know that, it is possible to do, I think that's going to kind of give a lot of people hope who are watching this. I mean, I preach it all the time, but third party validation from another mom is always nice. And you're doing such amazing things.
You know what it is? I think when you're somebody who has been in public school or even private school, and you're kind of lost in the whole, like, how am I going to teach my kid? There's a little bit of um unknowing, which is scary, and imposter syndrome, because you're like, who am I to teach my kids? Even on the internet, people are like, who are you to say that your kid has learned enough information for, such and such a grade? It's like, put your damn kids in school. And you're like, the whole point of them being homeschooled is so that they can learn how to be normal human beings who aren't, you know,
Yeah.
industrialized for, you know,
The
once they leave
workforce,
the house and they
basically.
start working. Yeah, like that has been the biggest challenge for me, to be honest with you, because I actually thrived in school, but I didn't thrive as an adult being publicly schooled, because I'm a great student. I'm a great person. I'll sit there and I'll do what I'm told. And I always said, I can't work for myself. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start. I can be told what to do and I can get that done. And so that's been a major learning curve as well, with both building a business and being a publicly schooled homeschool mom. So trying to break away from those, I guess, standards of how you're supposed to teach your kid and how they would learn, and at what age, what are they learning, and then having the state on your back about, are they learning what they're supposed to learn? um, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but here in Florida, there's like a few different ways to do homeschool. And the way that we were doing it was, we were kind of unschooling, but through the county, we had to submit a letter of intent every year. We had to be evaluated to make sure that our kids were learning more than they did the last. So
Yeah.
we had to have a certified educator look over samples of the work that we did from the beginning, middle, and end and go, okay, like her kids have met, their needs, they're progressing, and sign off and send that to the county. Which it hasn't been hard. It's cost me $40 a year, which, and it was like, I think 35 for the second kid. So it was really affordable, and I get to pick my own curriculum. I'm teaching biology and fitness at the art school right now.
Nice.
How to keep kids healthy and move. Like all last year we did like board games, and we turned them into fitness games, bingo, tic-tac-toe, like all these crazy games we just turned into fitness games. So it was really fun. And now I'm teaching them biology, and they're learning about life, living organisms, and that's my wheelhouse. So yeah, it's fun to be able to learn what you want when you want, the basic fundamentals of learning, which is language arts and math.
Yeah.
Is like, that's an everyday thing, but all the other fun stuff, the musical instruments, they're playing piano, they're playing drums, they want to play ukulele and guitar, which they get to take, and so we get to create our own world, and it doesn't have to look like anybody else's, which is the best part.
It totally is. And I wish more families would see that it's not necessarily doing public school at home, right? It's
Yeah.
whatever you want it to be, and you can create that for yourselves. We unschool too, for the most part. Um, don't have a lot of structure, which, has its downfalls some days, but has its, upsides too. So it's whatever you make it, and you can change it on a daily or weekly or monthly basis too, which is nice, right?
Yeah.
Um, in Canada, homeschooling is a little bit different, even by province, which I think in the US, even some of the states operate differently as well.
Yeah, every state has their own set of rules. Some are more
Yeah.
stringent than others.
Yeah, like I know in Ontario, you basically just tell them you're homeschooling and you're homeschooling. Here in Saskatchewan, you still have to, like you're saying, put your letter of intent every year. You have to build an education plan that has to be approved. And then at the end of the year, you have to submit your year-end reporting. And they're going to kind of match it up to your education plan to make sure you kind of taught what you said you were going to teach. And that to me was still too much overreach in that they were expecting to know everything and approve what I was basically teaching. So we went to an online private school a few years ago, which is awesome because she's international. It happens for everyone anywhere they are. She's got, students from all over the world. And because it is, a legitimate private school, which most, provinces and states by law just say your kids either have to be enrolled in government school, private school, homeschool, and the like. So it's been really great for us because we don't have to answer to the government anymore, which was kind of right
That's
in
really
line with.
cool.
It's
I
very cool.
I like that.
Yeah, so I've sent quite a few people to her, quite a few families, and just kind of hoping to build up that realm. She does, like weekly Zooms on array of different topics. It's super awesome. So,
So the kids get
and
to have
again,
fun
you
and they
can
get to learn about interesting things.
well,
And
and you can join in or you can not join in, right? You can customize it. You can still do whatever you're doing at home. If you need curriculum
oh,
advice,
okay.
help with that. Like it's just very, very versatile, and I really love it.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, so we're going to put in the chat somewhere where people can find you because, as you said, you work online on Zoom, right? So you can have clients from
Yeah.
anywhere, all over the world, Canada, US, anywhere else you guys happen to be. We will put her website or booking
Yeah,
link,
the website's the
whatever you
best
want to
thing.
put.
Because
Okay.
what happens on my website is you have my product links, you have my if you're interested in learning ACH because you're, I don't know, you're in the coaching or hypnosis or psychology or even spiritual practitioner, because it works with people who are having spiritual disconnect as well, and you just can't get them to reach the goals that they're trying to. There's got to be a block there, something that they believe subconsciously, root cause, core belief, that is keeping them from doing, getting to the goal that they want to get to. And so I'm actually hosting a masterclass February 23rd and 24th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time. This is the first of three this year. And then once you do that ACH course, there's a master's of ACH, which once you master the ACH aspect of it, now I'm going to teach you a different way to ask questions and go deeper with your client to achieve faster results, even faster than just with the ACH, which is really cool. So you'll have access to all of that information on my website, and there are Calendly links on the first page, on that page, and even on the product page to set up a strategy call or discovery call with me so that I can find out what you're looking for before we commit, if I'm a good fit for you and you're a good fit for me. And, we talk about all the things that are included in those products, basically.
Awesome. So we will definitely put information about the masterclass too coming up in 3-ish weeks. We're almost into February. Crazy.
Yeah, it's lifetransformationsolutions.com.
Okay, I will type that in right now, actually, so we don't forget. Life transformations.
Transformation Solutions.
Transformations with an S.
No.
Transformation.
Solutions.com.
Perfect. Got that in the chat for you guys if you want to go and check out her website. If you have any questions or you catch this on the replay, do hashtag replay. We will come back through and answer any questions that you guys have. Any closing remarks, any words of wisdom, anything you want to leave everybody with?
No, this has been really exciting. Health is a really big passion of mine. I'm always looking to help people who are struggling, getting the help they need from the Western medical system. I currently have a client in health coaching who has Lyme's disease, and New York won't even recognize it. They don't even recognize it as a diagnosis up there. And within, I think it was less than a week, I had her feeling better, just based on a few tweaks in her life. And I added Protandim and Lifeway patches to her daily regime, and she feels amazing. So a little bit of, life tweaking, a little bit of product tweaking, and she's 72, so she's not a spring chicken. And for her to feel good for like the first time after 5 years is pretty incredible for less than a week's time. So who knew?
Well, and I like to think anyways, that I hope people have really realized over the last 4 years in particular. I mean, we realized it, decades ago.
Yeah.
But that you really have to take your health into your own hands, that there's nobody else coming to save you, especially from the Western world, from Big Pharma, from any of these places. And if we can have more alternative health to offer people, I feel so many people are struggling, not with just illness and, dis-ease in the body, but mental illness, right? So many things that happened over the last 4 years that have
They're
really
all connected. They're so connected, because you can try to be as healthy as you want through your diet, through exercise, but if you're not healthy in your mind, it doesn't matter how good you're trying to be to your body. You got to be good to your mind too. And if you can't do it alone, you have to invest in yourself. You got to invest in somebody who knows what they're doing, who can help you get there. It's the only way it's going to work, is being open to the self-investment, which most of the time is monetarily, because nothing's cheap anymore. And so health is not cheap. If you can't do it on your own, it's going to be expensive later on either way. So you might as well spend that money up front to get the help that you need to get some kind of, what do they say? It takes 6 weeks to change your behavior. And it takes about 3 months for it to become like a normalized practice, but it takes 6 months for it to become a lifestyle. So at least, and that's with consistency. So unless you have somebody who's there who can kind of, nobody should need to have their hand held walking through things, but that's just how it is. And so if you can have somebody constantly checking in with you, making sure you're doing well, making sure that you don't fall off of track, at least for 3 months, and then you can continue to make that a lifestyle, then you don't need help later on. It just is a natural thing. It's not something where, in the first six to 12 weeks, you are, sorry, I keep hearing little kids at my front door, like they're all at my door.
I can hear them here too.
what usually happens with people is in the first 6 weeks, like they are doing really well. And all of a sudden some kind of life event happens where extra stress or they get sick or something, and they fall off of that, consistency. And that's it. Now the old habits are coming right back in to take the place of it because it's convenient, it's comfortable, it's not stressful. And while you're under that duress of being sick or some kind of stressful event is happening, you're more likely to go back to old behaviors, just out of comfort. And so that's what happened with my Lyme's client. But if you can get to 6 months and it doesn't matter how many events happen in that amount of time, guess what? Nothing's going to shake you. And I think we've been able to accomplish that with our lifestyle choices, and just trying to stay as consistent as possible. With the products, with the foods, with, anything that's going to help lower our inflammation in our body to make us feel good long term. And then I don't know how much psychological stuff you're doing, like the self work in the mental aspect of life, but that's a constant thing for me. Every 3 to 4 weeks I'm working with somebody to change my frame of thinking around everything, because I want to be a functional, productive, successful person, and I can't get there with the background that I had. So
Well,
always
and the
about
thing,
work.
with everything that you're saying too, is people are not going to find this at their doctor's office, right? So when we're talking about investing in your health, this is what we mean. So yes, it might cost you some money up front. I know in the US it's different, but up here everyone's like, healthcare is free. I mean,
No, it's not.
nothing's free, but
It's step
essentially
care.
it's like, right, it's cheaper for me to go to, the GP down the street than it is to book an appointment with a naturopath or a coach or whoever. And they're not really seeing the big picture that all of this is an investment into your health, your mental
Yeah.
health, physical, spiritual, all these things. And there's not going to be an MD that's going to hold your hand and check in on you and make sure you're surviving and doing okay. And, like it's just not going to happen. They're not invested in you.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like when you're in the holistic health world, the people you work with are actually invested in you. I mean, when I work with self-sabotage clients, and it was actually the same when I was doing births, I would have to, do practices to release myself from all of their stuff, right? Just the weight of it.
Yeah.
And
The
not that,
dissociation that has to happen
right?
can be painful.
Absolutely. And not that, attending someone's birth was a bad thing, but it was still just all the energy from all of that, right? Like I had to just kind of leave it at the door and shower as soon as I got home and just get back to,
The rituals.
the rituals. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Fortunately, I haven't had to do that with ACH because you're so dissociated from I need to help this person.
Yeah.
It's not about helping them, it's about them helping themselves, which I love about the modality. RTT was more about um helping them solve the symptom, right? Getting rid of the symptom, but the symptom's attached to something deeper, and that symptom's going to keep coming back if you don't get rid of the deeper thing. And so ACH is like, I'm not doing anything. You're doing it all. I'm just kind of breadcrumbs, right? Hansel and Gretel. Like I'm just giving you a breadcrumb of like, okay, this is the direction you have to go based on what you just said to me. So that has been such a great thing because at the end of the session, they're so empowered by being able to fix themselves, fix the problem that they created subconsciously, emotionally,
Yeah.
that now not only is that issue a non-issue, but anything that was related to that issue gets to go away too. And life just shifts and changes really fast. Like the transformation is unreal. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of energy that has to be put into getting yourself the help that you need. And if you don't have the education that you or I have, where you've studied this extensively, you've done all this work, you signed up for all these classes, and you've been implementing them long enough for them to become second nature to you, then yeah, you definitely need somebody who's going to show you the ropes, get you at least to a point in your life where that information becomes a part of you, and now you're able to utilize it and benefit from it. So
Absolutely.
self-work is incredible work. It's the hardest work, but it's the most rewarding, I think.
Absolutely. And I think too, one thing I notice with clients is that a lot of people they have difficulty making that first step, whereas they have to admit that they need help, I guess, or that it's something that they might have done, especially when you start looking into like the world of self-sabotage, right? I mean, we get to these places
Yeah.
because we've just kind of continued to mask all the things, push all those things down, childhood stuff, trauma, all these things. And then we're walking around as adults with this backpack full of shit, basically hauling it around with us and trying to figure out why.
And we're throwing it at
Not
everybody who comes in our path, like,
right.
here,
Yeah.
fix this, take this heavy bag and you carry it. I don't want it anymore. But they're like, that's not my bag. I'm not taking it. You keep that shit. You keep
Right.
it. I don't
Totally.
want it. And the more you try to make them take it and do something good with it, the more they resent you and they don't want to be around you. And so yeah, that backpack of history is yours. It's yours to kind of change. And until you change the way you think about it, nothing changes. Until
Yeah.
you stop seeing that as you know, a burden, until you stop seeing every little thing that happened to you as something that, you know, doesn't allow you to have any control over your own current life, nothing changes. So,
No, and I like how Jason always says, pain, people think it's a goblin when it's really a guardian. And I think it's because people don't want to go through pain. They don't realize on the other side of pain is healing, right? So if there's
yeah,
too much pain that people have to, deal with and look back on and really just dig deep. And like nobody wants to do the work. Like let's not kid ourselves. Nobody wants to bring up old memories and all these old things that are basically helped progress us to where we are as adults, whether it's good or bad, right? All of that
they were
history.
life-saving behaviors. They were life-saving beliefs because, I mean, who the hell is going to take care of you when you're a kid? Not you. You're at the mercy of the other adult children who are taking care of you, who also don't have the tools to help themselves. And so it just shit rolls downhill and ends up in that backpack, and you just carry that around. And so does your children. And it isn't until you wake up and go, okay, like I have played some kind of role in this, even if I haven't like physically done anything, I have emotionally taken on baggage that I don't belong holding. That doesn't actually mean what I think it means. And it doesn't actually hurt me the way that I keep saying it's been hurting me. And so that is the toughest pill to swallow, I think, for most people, is that they can't take responsibility for their emotions because they believe that somebody else was responsible for them. And I am in the middle of that, digging that out. Stop blaming other people for my experience. My childhood was not an easy, fancy one. It was tough as hell. And having kids has actually brought all that up and made me have to like really look deeply into it, because I'm going to be honest, like either it was suicide or it was abandonment of my kids. So um, I was not in a good place mentally, and in order for me to actually heal from that, I had to admit to everything.
Yeah. Which is hard.
And yeah, it's still, even to think, even though I'm past certain parts of that, like the really really raw parts of that, like it's still really hard to think about.
Yeah.
But I have so much awareness about it. And even when I'm saying things, even if it doesn't sound like cozy and comfy to say, like some people are like, oh God, like why? That's so hard. I can't believe you said that. And it's like, I have to be that real in order for me to heal.
Yeah.
So, it's not easy to heal because we all want to pretend like everything's great and that pain doesn't exist. And you know what? Pain is a part of growth. It is necessary for the most optimum growth. Not torture pain, but like emotional pain.
Yeah. Well, and like
There's a
you
line.
mentioned too, right? I think too, it's the you called them, the child adults back then were doing the best they could. In today's day and age, there's really no excuses or reasons for us to ever live that life that our parents and our grandparents, all led, because there's so many avenues for help. Like that saying where they say, like, let's raise kids who don't have to come back and heal from their childhood. that strikes a chord with me every time, because isn't that what we all want, is that our kids grow up, you know, without the kind of things that we grew up with and then have to heal about later, right? Like I feel like we're so much more empowered as mothers, as a species in general at this point, that we can have these conversations with our kids. I mean, I talk to my kids all the time about all the terrible things I did as a kid, as a teenager, in my, you know, early 20s, because I don't want them making the same mistakes, right? And I
It's
want them
not
to know that they can
it's not
talk
that
to
they're
them.
not gonna make the same mistakes. What it really is you're human. Like I have a friend who she's like superwoman on the outside, but she's dying on the inside. There's so much stuff emotionally that just gets stuffed down. And, you know, her kids needed to see that she was human because they were struggling, you know? And once she became that, she's got an amazing relationship with them. And it's like, you have to just make that clear, is like, I'm a human just like you. I'm struggling just like you. I'm not perfect just like you know? And I think being as real as you can be with the kids is great. But I can tell you this from experience doing this subconscious work, is it doesn't matter how perfect you try to be or how real you try to be or truthful you try to be. Your kids are going to interpret it the way they are going to interpret it for survival. And we're not going to not screw our kids up. We can try to create well-rounded people, but we're different from one child to the next in how we deal and cope emotionally. And so you've got 3 kids. There's a chance one of your kids is not going to grow up well-rounded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just based on how they interpret their own emotions and how they believe that those emotions are hurting them, or that experience has hurt them. And so you cannot be a perfect parent. You're never going to know how much your kid is going to take what you say and go with that, or they're going to take what you say and they're going to think that that means something terrible about them, no matter how you parent. That's just the nature of the human mind and our survival skills. Every little thing that happens to us, we don't realize is happening for us. And we just develop this belief based on that experience and the emotion and the trauma that we perceive that occurred there. And we make that our compass for life. And then we look for confirmation of that belief through every experience, so that we don't even realize that we're creating. How could you? So we're going to look for friends that, you know, and situations that compound that belief. And then we're going to have an experience once we're older, and we can work with our bosses and our coworkers and whoever we're going to school with and our teachers. And that's going to compound that belief. And that's why we need people to help us peel back those layers of beliefs and actually rationalize them, because the subconscious mind is completely irrational. All those beliefs are based on one belief that didn't actually mean what you think it meant. And so now your entire world revolves around that belief, and everything that you're doing is looking for evidence that you're right, because our mind wants to be right. It doesn't want to be wrong. And I think that's where most people struggle with trying to dig deep and do that self-work, because that truth is, I created this. I did this to me. Because they have studies on twins where they're born in the same household, grow up in the same household. One goes off to be a successful person. The other one goes off to be a drug addict, alcoholic, self-abuser. Why? Because they had the same parents in the same environment, but one decided that they were going to take that pain and turn it into success, and the other one decided to become the victim. And so it doesn't matter how perfect you are as a parent. You're going to go through your own story the way that you're supposed to, you know? And that's what I'm finding in this work, is that it really digs deep into that.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
Well, I definitely hope that everyone watching takes what they can take from this conversation that we've had this morning. And I hope that you have some people reach out to you too for information,
Great.
or maybe your masterclass to hire you. That would be awesome. We've had,
Yeah.
I know my friend Audrey had a bunch of people buy tower gardens last week, which is fantastic. We've got more people growing food in their house over the winter. Never a bad thing.
I want that. That's next.
Right? Yeah, so awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming. I was looking so forward to you coming and just embarking all this information and knowledge on everybody who's going to watch this video. Um, Guys, like and share this video, put your comments in the thread, and we will come back and answer them. And if you are interested in any of the things Regina talked about, her website is in the comments as well, lifetransformationsolutions.com. And yeah, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. It was so wonderful.
Awesome. Okay, guys, we'll see you next Wednesday. I have the amazing Sean Zimmer from Winnipeg on next week. You don't want to miss it. We will be live at 12 noon Central. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Bye.